It's time for our first review of this week leading into Halloween here. And tonight, I have to confess, I actually started with a movie that I thought was going to be lame. Um, I actually picked it because I thought it was going to be lame. I thought maybe it would be something kind of cheesy. Um, but, it claimed to take inspiration from H.P. Lovecraft, and Lovecraftian horror. And yet, it was starring, young actors. In this case, in particular, one preteen actor and a couple of teenagers. So, I figured it's probably going to be some sort of cheese fest or edgy or try way too hard. And lo and behold, I was actually very pleasantly surprised. This movie's actually good. And it wasn't until after I started watching it and thought this really isn't half bad that I bothered to even look who directed it. The movie in question is a 2009 film that actually didn't get a home media release until 2012 called The Hole. And it was directed by none other than Joe Dante, who also directed the first two Gremlins films. Uh, man, oh god, I drew a blank. I know he directed Gremlins 1 and 2. I had the list and I lost it. My bad. But yeah, so really, I guess I'm not terribly surprised. Joe Dante has a way of taking like a genuinely scary theme, oftentimes with a message behind it, and not going too far with it, still making it accessible as like family fare. You might not want like a really little kid seeing it, but like 10 and up, yeah, sure, why not? And this is really no different. And I was actually shocked by how good it was. That's not to say that it was amazing or anything. No, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and talk about, oh, this is one of the greatest movies ever made, or, oh my God, so good. No, but it was actually a good movie. Were I younger, I could definitely see this getting me into horror movies. And even as an adult, it's really not that bad of a movie. This is something I could actually see myself sitting down and watching with my nephews. It's genuinely a good film. Um, and in a couple areas, it's kind of technical. Now, the basic story is a single mom and her two sons moved to this new town. The sons had to leave everyone they knew behind. They had to settle into this new area now. They befriend the neighbor girl, uh, and the when the two brothers are in the basement and the girl comes over to visit, they all happen to find that there's this hole, this weird, mysterious hole in the bottom of their basement, covered by a heavy wooden door that's bolted down with multiple locks. And so, of course, they see this trap door and they think, well, what's in there? We gotta see. They pop it open. Um, it's blank, empty, just pure dark. They shine a light down into it. They can't see a bottom. Took a can of nails that they found on a shelf down there, dumped it down there. No sound of them hitting anything. Took a stuffed animal, tied it to the end of a rope, and lowered it down there. Suddenly, something seemed to grab the rope. While the younger brother had it, he couldn't pull it back up. Older brother grabbed it, started yanking it up, and when they pulled it up, the rope had been just completely shredded at the end. But one thing that seems to be a key recurring thing early on in the movie is that when they first see this hole, when every single one of them first sees it, they can't stop staring into it at first. And this is actually where they tossed in a little bit of Nietzsche, in that it's a slightly different context, I think, than the philosopher intended, but it's philosophy and it can be taken multiple ways. In that, when you stare into the abyss, know that it stares back into you. And basically, what that pit is a Stygian abyss of sorts that basically can sense your fear and bring it to life. And it comes out of that hole. And the more you feed that fear, the stronger that fear gets until it becomes strong enough to take you and consume you. Right? That's basically the plot we're going for here. Now, that's a general idea of the plot. I don't want to get into specific spoilers because, I do want people to see this. It's actually a good movie. That being said, I do have to critique it, and it's kind of hard to do without giving away any kind of story points. Because it's really a basic plot. It's not terribly nuanced, it's pretty straightforward. I love the idea of this, and I think that someone else could have taken it and made like a seriously more adult film. And by more adult, I'm not talking about over the top kills or gore or horrific imagery or anything quite like that, but maybe more mature themes and more of a psychological film. Because at some point, as you could expect, some things do get taken a little literally. But again, this is something that's supposed to be accessible for more or less the age groups of the actors in the movie. Speaking of which, for young actors, they did an especially good job. I was genuinely surprised. The girl Julie was played by Haley Bennett. She did a good job. The youngest brother Lucas was played by a boy named Nathan Gamble, and honestly, he was one of the best actors in the movie. He was great for a kid, like really great. And the older brother Dane was played by Chris Missaglia, and he, I think, possibly delivered a slightly more flat performance. But it's odd when he's on his own. He's a little bit flat. I mean, it's not enough to completely ruin the movie, but it can be noticeable at times. But when he's with the kid playing his brother, they play off each other really well. They have like a natural kind of chemistry. They actually feel like brothers, and brothers in a somewhat strained relationship, which is understandable. I mean, with the stuff they're dealing with, having just moved. But yeah, I can buy that they're brothers, But it's just it's so atmospheric. I think the music of this thing it's scored really well. I don't think there's anything inherently that's gonna stick with you. It's just the way it's composed with the image that you're seeing. They use the music very well. It creates some really good tension, some genuine tension, um, and it really added to a lot of scenes that otherwise might have seemed a little too on the nose, maybe, or dull because they don't lead to much. But just the atmosphere and the way it can build dread. Which honestly, considering this is based on some Lovecraftian stuff, just that feeling of dread that slowly builds in some scenes, did kind of carry that through. So I thought that was great. Um, in terms of cinematography, nothing groundbreaking, but in a couple scenes, the camera angles and everything are used to great effect. Set design. Oh boy. Okay. The cinematography, the music, the set design, all really comes to play in one scene that I can't spoil for you. I just can't and won't do that. But it's just interesting because it involves childhood trauma of the older brother of Dane. And when he goes into this place, you can see, the camera angles make everything seem at first very claustrophobic, but as he goes deeper and deeper in, everything, even stuff that was like in the last shot a different size, suddenly seems bigger. And you realize that even though he is still himself, his perspective and everything around him is shifting back to when he was a young child. which again I think is actually really clever and done to very good effect. And the movie geek in me did kind of think, oh, that's so cool. Especially you don't see this kind of effort put into what's technically a family film. So so it was I was impressed that he didn't really take half measures with that. That was really clever. Um, so that's about all I can really say about it for tonight. Overall, nothing super groundbreaking, but a good movie and worth the watch. It's free on Netflix if you got it. Um, and honestly, if you ever wanted to maybe consider getting anyone younger in your family into the horror genre without anything too scary or graphic, this would be a good jumping on point. And there are a few other movies too. Monster Squad is another one. That's another thing that this movie kind of reminded me of. Very reminiscent of like the more all ages, teen and preteen horror flicks from the '80s, or even like adventure flicks. I'm not gonna say it's inherently as good as some of those. Definitely Gremlins vibes, obviously, but it's a good movie. It really is. And I'm going to link you down in the description. Just since we're on the topic, a list of 13 family-friendly horror movies that could be used as a gateway to that. Because honestly, to me, horror movies are less a means of scaring ourselves for the heck of it, and more a means of trying to channel and understand fear and give it a sort of form so that we can understand it. Horror movies, to me, can be a kind of philosophical thing. The nature of fear. What are we afraid of? How do we personify that in the world around us? How does it affect us? And horror movies can explore that. They can also be complete schlocky gore fests that have, all the depth of a sandbox, but that's kind of insulting to the sandbox at times. But yeah, I'm gonna link that down below. Just so you know, we're not doing the Q&A yet, so I'm still taking questions. I probably won't take that till November, so y'all still have time to submit. I'll put that link down in the description as well. Um, and if you guys have any suggestions for me to look at any movies to review, again, the only stipulation is that it be on Netflix or Amazon Prime, and nothing too overtly, crappy. um, I am very much willing to take those. Uh, and in fact, I'm gonna challenge y'all. If you can actually find me, like a genuinely scary horror anime, like no long series, mind you, but like something relatively short or even like a movie. If you can find me one that I can look at and think might genuinely be scary, I will take a look at that and I will review it. And if it does scare me, I will take back my claims that anime horror can't be done right. Or, not. Oh gosh, I'm tired. Can you tell? Alright. That's it for tonight, though, guys. And I will catch y'all tomorrow night. See ya.